Hello and welcome to Lovely English Stories. Thank you for stopping by. This story is written for upper intermediate. English learners ready. Let's get started. B to English story, London life. The sky over London was a beautiful rich blue. There wasn't a cloud to be seen. Soft haze floated on the horizon as the sun began to rise over the vast CITS-CAPE. London was walking. Up for another day? And so was Rose. She sat at her table, drinking green tea. As she looked out over East London, she could see planes. Setting off from City Airport, she always wondered where they were going. And who was on there? What did their day ahead look like? She could hear the regular hum of the DLR and the honking of horns on the streets below. Rose adored the view from her High-Rise flat. Sometimes she wished she lived on the other side of the building, as she would have a view over the city. The view you often see on postcards, that view certainly comes with a price tag. A price tag Rose couldn't justify or afford, even though Rose didn't have the fairy tale view of Dot, and she still enjoyed looking out from her table across the city as it petered out into neighboring suburban areas. Since Rose had moved to the apartment 9 years ago, the Dot view had dramatically changed. More high-rise buildings had blocked her once perfect view of the Thames. Now she could only see glimpses of the O2 Arena to the left and Greenwich Park to the right. It still looked magnificent, but the amount of building work did worry her. Her windows were always covered. Dust and dirt and the noise the cranes and drills created could be annoying at times. She'd also tried to grow some herbs on balcony, but they didn't cope very well with more buildings. Come more people. This meant busier buses, tubes, and supermarkets. Rose didn't mind so much as she felt. It's brought a buzz to the area, but she did occasionally miss the quieter streets. Nowadays, she'd often get woken up in the night by people shouting and arguing in the street, or sometimes it's the shrill of an ambulance or police siren. This never happened. When she first moved there, Rose was incredibly lucky that the building she lived in was quite luxurious. It had a rooftop bar, a cinema, a restaurant, and a gym. When her friends came to visit, Rose couldn't disagree. It was when she moved to London all those years ago. She didn't think she would still be living in the same building, that there was no way she could afford the rent. A flat like hers would cost upwards of £500 a week. That was more than a lot of people learned. Rose moved to the building when she gained a promotion at work. She had to move from Exeter to London Leaves. Part of the deal was that her company would pay for her accommodation for 2 years. She was only ever meant to stay in London for 2 years. She was opening a new branch of the company she worked for in the city center. The branch was such a success that she was asked to stay beyond the 2 years. She opened a second branch and hadn't left. She decided to purchase her flat. She took on a hefty mortgage and made roots in the city. Rose was an estate agent. She had previously worked selling beautiful country or seaside homes. Now, she dealt mainly with luxurious apartments and city center houses. It was quite different. The clients she worked with had more money than she could possibly imagine. They didn't think twice about spending £100 on a meal or £5,000 on a handbag or pair of shoes. It was another world. To Rose, she had come a long way from selling small terraced houses or 3-bedroom townhouse, as these days. It wasn't unusual for her to have clients call and say they wanted an apartment for £10 million. Rose could only dream of having so much money, dealing with such large sums of money. Every day had become the norm. For her, she just saw the money as numbers on her computer screen. As Rose had helped to establish the company in London, she was selling more expensive properties, and so she was earning more commission. Rose's bank balance was bursting. She could afford pretty much anything she wanted. She wasn't at the level of her clients, but she was certainly comfortable. She had paid off her mom's mortgage and bought her brother a small house in Exeter. She had also paid for her father's grave to have a full restoration, and she commissioned a bench to be made in his memory, which overlooks a stunning viewpoint of the harbor. He had sadly passed away just before Rose decided to make the move to London. Moving to London felt like a fresh start and a new life for her. She welcomed the change and had loved every second she had experienced in the city. The good and bad Rose went out onto her balcony with her tea and took in the smells of the city she knew. London was a busy and polluted place, but whenever she was away from it, she missed it. She watched 2 more planes set off from the airport before heading inside to get ready for her day. When Rose first moved to London, she cycled to the central London office, but these days she preferred to get the DLR, and the tube cycling was now a hobby she enjoyed during her downtime. She had purposefully planned a lighter schedule for her day. She had a team meeting at 10 a.m., followed by 2 viewings and a lunch meeting with a client for Rose's job. It was important to get to know her clients. She needed to know exactly what they were looking for. She could make the perfect match. It wasn't always an easy job. Her clients were then very demanding. They could afford to be. Rose had booked to go to an exclusive restaurant in Soho with her client. They were looking for a 3-bedroom townhouse in Primrose Hill. Her client was an entrepreneur from a similar background to Rose. She had worked her way up to be the CEO of her own soft furnishing company. Rose wanted to find the perfect home for her. After the client meeting, Rose had planned to head over to the South Bank and enjoy a walk along the river. She always found this area so inspirational. Even if it was .2r, she loved to listen to the comedians and singers perform, and she was fascinated by the artists who drew caricatures. That they were all so talented that she had planned to finish off her walk at the Tate Modern. There was an exhibition opening that she wanted to explore. Rose has always been a fan of art. It was also good for her to know who was up and coming, as sometimes these topics came up in conversations with her clients. Rose had planned to meet her friend in the evening and they had made a reservation too of Italian food at a lovely family-run restaurant close to the tube station. What Rose loved the most about London was the variety. She could go out and enjoy any sort of food she wanted. Although she loved Exeter, she couldn't ever imagine going back. For her, London was such an integral part of her life. No matter how noisy or crazy it could get, she had a plan to stay working in her current company for the next 5 years, and then she will venture out on her own and open Rose's estate agency. Rose rinsed her teacup and put it in the dishwasher. She smiled to herself. She had created such a wonderful life for herself in London, and she would always be eternally grateful to her company for allowing her to move and work there. If you could live and work in any city, where would it be and why? Tell us in the comments below. Work there. If you could live and work in any city, where would it be and why? Tell us in the comments below. We hope you enjoyed this lovely English story. Thank you for stopping by, and don't forget to like, subscribe. See you soon.